All right, Sergio Mora, we have to start the show talking about the big news in the boxing combat sports space. And that is that Matchroom Boxing is in the UFC fighter managerial business. Matchroom ramping up its war with Dana White and UFC by signing Tom Aspinall, the UFC heavyweight champion, to a managerial contract. This was one I didn't see coming over the last few days. Clearly, I shouldn't say clearly because I don't know exactly what the reasoning was behind it, but it looks to me like this is a way to drive the price of Aspinall up to make UFC pay real money to get their heavyweight champion back into the ring. So, what did you think when you saw the news of Matchroom signing Aspinall?
Well, I really don't follow UFC. I never heard of Tom Aspinall. What you're telling me is the first thing that I could think of. The fact that he's doing it because he's still a current heavyweight champion and he wants to stick it to Dana White. Hey, that's a great counter. That's a great counter that's going to stick to Dana White. And if Dana and Eddie are going to be going back and forth, taking each other's fighters, then it's all going to come down to money. So if these fighters get paid more money on both sides, then it's a win-win for everybody. And Dana and Eddie Hearn can get their promotion by jabbing at each other. I'm in.
Yeah, to me, it's really about the war between Eddie and Dana slash Nick Khan, who does most of the operating behind the scenes for Zuffa Boxing and that dynamic. But it certainly, I mean, when I heard it earlier in the day on Thursday they'd signed a UFC fighter. I did not know it was Tom Aspinall. Them signing the heavyweight champion of UFC, even a guy
Oh, he's
that,
the current heavyweight champion.
yes, he's current
Oh, well, then that makes a total difference, Chris Mannix. I mean, so you're telling me
That's what I
Eddie Hearn
said.
signed the UFC heavyweight champion of the world when Dana White just signed a contender in Connor Ben?
Well,
That's a big,
it's different
no,
because
that's a big
Matchroom.
win for Eddie Hearn.
Well, it's hold on. I love teaching the things in real time. It's not they're not going to put Tom Aspinall on a Matchroom show. Tom Aspinall is still a UFC contracted fighter. Matchroom is just creating a talent agency as part of what they do in their overall business, and the first fighter they're signing to it is Tom Aspinall. So, in theory, potentially, Matchroom will be negotiating with UFC over contracts involving Tom Aspinall, which creates an even weirder dynamic between the two. But it's just another example of the war between UFC and Matchroom, which I've been writing about this past week, kind of ramping up. All right, let's get into it. And let's start the show, as we do every week, with our winners and our losers of the week. Give me your winner of the week.
My winner, excuse me. My winner of the week is a man that's been around a long time, a gatekeeper, someone with 37 bouts, someone that's always come up short on the championship level, but not by a lot. Abel Ramos, who finally got his just due, upsetting Tamir Smalls on the big stage, an undefeated, matchroom prospect who was just on the cusp of becoming a contender. Abel Ramos proves to be a great gatekeeper and a guy that still has a lot of fight left and a newly father that just came in the mix. I love the fact he won, Mannix. I love Abel Ramos getting this time in the sunshine because it's long due, man, and he still has enough time to make some money, get another title shot, and this is a good way of him putting his foot in the front door. So Abel Ramos is my winner of the week.
Yeah, Abel Ramos is an example of the cruelty of boxing because in 2024, when he fought Mario Barrios to a draw, he was effectively one round away from getting the opportunities that Mario Barrios got over the last year and a half. And I'm talking about fighting Manny Pacquiao and making a pile of money, fighting Ryan Garcia and making a pile of money. If Abel Ramos had won one more round, those opportunities would have gone to him. Uh, he had to take over a year off as a result. Did have a child, as you noted there, became a father, but was out in the boxing wilderness. And here he was having to face a prospect, and he lost the first few rounds against Tamir Smalls, but bounced back. I thought he won the last six and came away with a clear decision win. Now, I don't think he's going to get a Ryan Garcia fight. I don't think he's going to get a championship fight, but he is going to be back into the mix for a big fight, and more importantly, a big payday. My winner of the week is your Mexican countryman, Emmanuel Navarrete, who had a career I don't know if I want to call it reviving performance because he was still a champion going into this fight against Sugar Nunez, but a career boosting performance.
Mm.
Because going into that fight against Sugar Nunez, Navarrete was the underdog. And he was the underdog because he did not look great in his last fight against Charlie Suarez. Probably should have lost that fight. Should have lost that fight because the shot that ended the fight was not caused by a headbutt. It was caused by a punch from Charlie Suarez. So here comes Navarrete back at 130 pounds, going up against a younger, theoretically stronger fighter in Sugar Nunez. And Navarrete put on a vintage performance, outboxing Nunez, outpunching Nunez, dominating Nunez every step of the way. I mean, it wasn't a clean sweep on the judges' scorecards, but Navarrete was never hurt in this fight. He was never in trouble in this fight. And now here he is, once again in the catbird seat with a chance to unify against an Oshaki Foster. He can move up in weight and fight a Raymond Murataya. He can face Suarez, his mandatory, again, maybe on that Canelo versus the world card in September, maybe a pile of money in it from doing something like that. The boxing world is once again Emmanuel Navarrete's oyster. And there were some questions about that coming in about whether or not, after 8+ years of championship level fights, of a championship level career that began with Isaac Dogbe, continued to Oscar Valdez, Liam Wilson, up at 130 pounds now, fighting Sugar Nunez. There were questions about whether all those wars had taken their toll on the body of Navarrete, but he came in great shape, used nutritionist for the first time in his career. I would recommend going back to that nutritionist. And now here he is in a great position. Easily, to me, the winner of the week.
I don't know what a catbird seat is, but yeah, it puts him in the driver's seat, Mannix. And the thing about Emmanuel Navarrete is that, you know, one win can reinvigorate a fighter's career, especially when you're a physical fighter. Whenever you're in bloody fights, whenever you're getting cut, whenever you're starting to fall behind in blemishes on your career and falling short and looking bad, one fight changes that, and it happens all the time because boxing fans have short-term memory. You're one big win away from another big fight. That's the beauty of boxing. I don't think that could happen in any other sport where one win can change the entire trajectory of a career. In boxing, it can. And whenever you have the resume, the championship resume, like Navarrete does, and now the following, if they put them in certain spots, Phoenix was a great town. Scottsdale, Glendale, Phoenix area was a great place to bring him back. Those are the markets you need to hit. San Antonio, Phoenix, Los Angeles, anywhere around the Southwest, you're going to be making a star and you're going to be making that star brighter. So Navarrete, absolutely the winner of the weekend. His career has had a rejuvenation.
All right, on the flip side, give me your loser of the week.
My loser of the week is probably a long lost cousin of yours, Dennis O'Connell, Chris Mannix. I think he got it wrong with Jordan Martinez. I think the hometown fighter in Phoenix put on a great performance against an undefeated fighter in Arturo Cardenas, and I think he deserved the nod. I think he got it wrong in this fight. The other judges had it pretty close. One had it, 98-92 for Martinez. I don't think it was that far of a wide decision, but Martinez won this fight. I think we did him justice on the telecast. We felt that he boxed well, he fought well, and I think ultimately deserved to win against the undefeated fighter in Cardenas and deserves this decision. But this O'Connell, your cousin, denied him. I hate it.
Not my cousin. And I would point out that 96-94 Cardenas is not that egregious a scorecard. That was a super
it is when one judge had it 98-92. When you compare those two.
Then you just said you didn't think it was as wide as 98-92.
No, I didn't. But when you compare 98-92 to the total opposite, then that's when you start thinking, like, what were these judges seeing?
I don't know. I thought they saw it fine. I actually thought 98-92 was way too wide. I think Martinez could have won 1 point either way. Cardenas, to me, could have won 1 point either way. Another judge had it at even draw, 95-95. That wasn't that. To me, that wasn't that crazy a scorecard. I just hope they run it back. I think now, and I think Eddie Hearn alluded to this, both these guys could be a main event at a small venue in Phoenix. It's that good a fight. So I'd like to see them do it on a larger stage to run it back. I didn't think the scorecards were all that bad, but it's your loser of the week. That's fine. My loser of the week is Javier Herrera. And if you haven't heard of Javier Herrera,
he sounds like my cousin.
WBC's interim, he's your cousin. He's the WBC's interim 135-pound champion. Now, why am I bringing up Hadi Herrera? Because just last month, we saw the WBC strip Shakur Stevenson of his 135-pound title, saying that Shakur did not fill out the proper paperwork, did not pay them the money, so he was no longer the 135-pound champion. You would think that Javier Herrera, being the interim champion at 135 pounds, would get elevated. Not so much. It was announced this week that the WB has accepted a fight between William Zepeda and Lamont Roach for the WBC's 135-pound title. Now, I have no problem with that fight. In fact, I think that's a great fight. That's a main event fight. Zepeda coming off that close loss, or at least competitive loss, to Shakur Stevenson, one of the most entertaining fighters in these lighter weights. Lamont Roach, bad decision he had last year against Gervonta Davis. Both these guys are top level guys in this weight class. It is a great fight at 135. But I'm just wondering, WBC, if the guy's the interim champion, is he not supposed to at least be involved in a championship fight? Otherwise, what is the point of having an interim champion? Mario Barrios was elevated to champion after Boots Ennis moved up in weight. Or I guess Crawford, I guess, at that point moved up in weight. Why is Javier Herrera not being elevated to the full champion? I don't get it one bit. Another very confusing decision by the WBC. And the loser, the guy that suffers from it, is Javier Herrera, who is still going to be the interim champion.
Keep me out of your beefs with these sanctioning bodies. First, it was the WBC, then it was the IBF or WBA. Now it's back to the WBC. Now, I love the fact that you're doing this, but you're much more informed behind the scenes than I am, Chris Mannix. So keep your personal vendettas with these sanctioning bodies. Now, mind you, I agree with you sometimes, and it's unfair for these fighters, but I don't know too much enough for this Herrera guy and his beefs with the sanctioning body. So look, I applaud you for going at the belts, and that's your beef.
Well, it's a legitimate gripe when you have an interim
Good.
champion who should be either involved in a championship fight or elevated to full title holder. That's what's supposed to happen with all these interim champions, which shouldn't exist anyway. There was no reason that the WBC needed an interim 135-pound champion when last year their current champion, their reigning champion, Shakur Stevenson, was an active fighter. And that's
You
what
lose
happens. You
me.
get
You
situations
lose
like
me, and anyone else loses me once you start talking about interim and super champions and regular champions and champions in recess and diamond. You lose me. All right. So this is something that we've gone back and forth with, and we know it's a problem with the sanctioning bodies and all these freaking belts, especially with the WBA. This is just another wrench in the sanctioning body. So yeah, man, I feel bad for this Herrera guy, but it's a long line of disappointed fighters, not getting their chance because of politics and these belts.
you're a champion at recess, is what you are. That's what I consider you, a
What do
champion at
I'm
recess.
no, I'm a former champion forever. I'm in the history books, man. It's all right, and I beat a four-time champion, five-time champion, and Vernon Forrest. So no, I'm good. My resume is good, and my championship is good. I'm good.
Yes,
It
but
didn't
you're
last
like a
very
little
long,
kid.
but I got it.
You're like a little kid at recess, is what my point was. That's kind of what I'm going for. All right,
Appreciate
let's get into it. This week we had more developments in the Virgil Ortiz versus Golden Boy versus Boots Ennis drama. On Monday, a judge in Nevada ruled that the contract with Golden Boy was valid for now. He pushed the decision, or she pushed the decision to arbitration, which is supposed to take place sometime before September. And that effectively put on pause the negotiations, which are close to being finalized for Virgil Ortiz to fight Boots Ennis. Now, I was told behind the scenes there have still been negotiations for a resolution here, a resolution that would probably result in Golden Boy getting a licensing deal with DAZN to put their fights on, Virgil Ortiz being freed to fight Boots Ennis, and Boots Ennis, who's been just sitting back saying, I am signed, I am in, that he would get the fight that he has been longing for several months now. However, on Wednesday, we had Virgil Ortiz take to social media and announce that he was done with Golden Boy. But that was it. That even though the decision didn't go his way, he was looking forward to going to arbitration, to going back to court, and moving on with his career. And he said that, I'm paraphrasing here, but he said the Boots Ennis fight was not going to happen right now. I'm not going to ask you to unpack all those negotiations, but that was a pretty strong statement from Virgil Ortiz there to come out and say, I am done. Usually it's been words that have been spoken by his manager, Rick Meridian, words that have been written by his lawyer, Greg Smith. Now we have Virgil Ortiz saying, you know what? I'm done. It's a wrap. I am not going to fight until this is resolved with Golden Boy. I am not going to fight until I am out of my Golden Boy contract. What do you think of the stand that Virgil Ortiz took this week about his situation with Golden Boy?
It's the pride of a young man, but it's also the ignorance of a fighter that hasn't been educated in how this works. These contracts are bulletproof, man, especially, with these big promoters, Golden Boy, every big promoter has had these issues with their fighters. I mean, if you
Okay,
look
it's
back,
not bulletproof. Hold on. I'm going to stop right there. It's not bulletproof. This contract is not bulletproof. I understand that there are a lot of contracts that are out there that you're talking about that are difficult contracts that you've probably signed, probably signed with Golden Boy over the years.
all right, well,
But this
look, all right,
go
well,
ahead.
let me pick another word. All right, maybe not bulletproof, but look, normally history shows that promoters have ironclad contracts against boxers. I mean, look at Ryan Garcia. He wanted to get out of Golden Boy contract. He couldn't. Look at way back with Mikey Garcia in Top Rank. It took him 2 years to finally get out of there. And the career, the best years of his career were just squandered. Andre Ward and Goose and Tudor. Anytime a boxer thinks he has leverage because he has a name, he has the championships, he has a fan base, he's getting paid big money. And then when he wants to challenge a promoter and their contract, they end up losing, a big chunk of their career being inactive. I remember on the smaller scale, when I had this contender contract, I was inactive. And I wanted to get out, but I couldn't get out. So at that time, the promoter, Jeff Wald, would tell me, listen, if you're going to try to get out of this contract, we're just going to suspend and extend you. That was the famous words that he would say every time I said no to an opponent, anytime he wanted to force me to an opponent. That was slightly different, but that's what promoters have the leverage to do, not to suspend and extend, but they could put you on the shelf. Okay, you want to go to arbitration? You want to fight against us? We've been loyal to you. We've been honoring our pay. I mean, you got to give it to Golden Boy. They've been through this entire run 10 years with Virgil Ortiz from a 4 round fighter, getting him to the big stage as one of the biggest punchers, one of the biggest attractions, stood by him during these 3, 4 cancellations of illness that Virgil was, going under with the rhabdomyolysis. Come on, man. On this one, I got to really say Golden Boy might be right on this one. Oscar might be right on this one. I don't know the whole details, but on the outside looking in, looking at what Oscar has done for Virgil to the position that Virgil Ortiz is on now, and now he's going to gamble on a courtroom, hoping that he gets the right side of the nod when history proves that it always nods towards the promoter. I don't like this look for
History
Virgil.
does not. History does not prove that.
I just gave you
Yes.
Andre Ward, Mikey Garcia, and
Okay.
Ryan
They
Garcia.
all eventually got out of their contracts. And yes, it may have cost them a little bit of time.
Years.
I think the difference with Virgil Ortiz is that he's got an arbitration that has to happen before September. And for what I'm told, it's probably going to happen sometime within the next 2 months. So the hope from Ortiz's camp and the belief from Ortiz's camp is that their arguments are going to be more than enough to convince an arbiter that their position is the correct one. And this judge that ruled in Nevada, this judge did not take a position on the contract, even though I've seen some celebratory tweets and stuff from Golden Boy people. And look, they should. They won a victory in that court. This did not, from what I read of it, validate that contract. This did not say Virgil Ortiz is under contract with Golden Boy for the foreseeable future. This just kicked the can down the road a little bit into arbitration. I think Virgil Ortiz is banking on that. I think Virgil has been informed by his lawyer, informed by his manager that they still have a very good chance of winning this if they just wait a little while longer. Now, I do think, as we record this on Thursday afternoon, that it may not matter. I do think that there could be a settlement with Golden Boy, Virgil, whoever's going to sign Virgil, presumably Matchroom, to get this all resolved. And I think it's in the best interest of everybody to get this resolved. More so now, to kind of bring it back to the original point on the tweet from Virgil, because Virgil's made it clear publicly that he has no interest in working with Golden Boy anymore. He said it. He went out and he put that out there. It was his tweet. Um, Now that Golden Boy has that information, now that that information is in the public space, it makes too much sense for Golden Boy to get what it can out of this, which means presumably a new deal with DAZN. Maybe they get some money out of this Virgil Ortiz Boots Ennis fight. They get their slice of the action out of this fight and then move on and then move forward. They've still got Ryan Garcia under contract. Floyd Schofield's in line to fight for 135-pound title. William Zepeda, we just talked about, in line to fight for 135-pound title. I just don't think this is a fight that they need to be in. One way or the other, it's going to end with Virgil Ortiz fighting outside of Golden Boy. Whether it takes 6 weeks, whether it takes 6 months, whether it takes 6 years, I think this is where it's going in that direction. And I think for the benefit of everybody, it probably should be settled sooner rather than later. That's just kind of where I think this all will shake out.
Well, look, you know more of this as a reporter, and people, you're talking to people on behind the scenes. So look, I'm just speaking as a fighter. I'm just speaking of what I've seen before with inactivity and kicking the can, as you just said, kicking the can down the road. Well, you're going to kick the can down the road whenever you're dealing with bigger pockets. You're going to be losing to promoters. You're going to be losing to networks because they have time and the resources to spend. They got a big stable of fighters. They got more dates. They can move on with their career. A fighter
Well, the
only
network though wants this Boots Ennis fight. Obviously, they've made that clear.
wanted next, Mannix, and that's where
Like,
probably
it's still
all.
possible.
I hopefully, yeah. I mean, I
Still
was
possible.
hopeful 2 months ago when we were talking about it.
I'm
Now,
surprised you're siding with the promoter in all this. Like, I'm not
no,
disputing
no,
that
no,
Golden Boy.
and I'll tell you why, Mannix. I'll tell you why. Fighters normally don't side with promoters, but whenever I haven't heard anything bad. As a matter of fact, on the flip side of that, I've heard Virgil Ortiz praise Golden Boy on.
It's not about how they're bringing him along. It's about the money. It's always about the money, which is what for
Okay.
you it was always about the money.
Yeah, yeah, it was about it was about the money, but it's also about something about respect and loyalty as well. If a promoter's done well by you, look, I'm not gonna jump on Golden Boy's side totally because I don't know everything behind the scenes. You do, but on the outside, just from what I'm seeing right now, I'm looking at the unblemished, perfect record of Virgil Ortiz now on the not championship level, but on the big championship money level, about to have one of the biggest fights in boxing, and it's right there for the making. And he wants to break from the promoter to make this happen elsewhere. That sounds like disloyalty to me. That sounds like, somebody that rather just take the money and run after a promoter's done well by you. He's honored his side of the deal, and you've praised this promoter. So that's what's a little bit confusing to me. I'm not just picking sides here. I'm just telling you like it is. I've heard Virgil in interviews say that Oscar's done well by him. And obviously his record speaks for it. He got him to this point. Why the change of heart? I don't get it.
Well, I think money is a big reason for that. I think he has an opportunity in whatever contract he signs next to make a lot more money. And fighters have a shelf life. This is why I was fully on board with Conor Benn taking a one fight deal for $15 million to fight Regis Prograis. Loyalty's great. Can't spend loyalty. And the reality is, Sergio, and you know this as well as anyone, that if Virgil Ortiz wasn't very good, if Virgil Ortiz had lost to Erickson Lubin, where would he be? What would be going on with Virgil Ortiz right now? What would the
Well,
promoter be doing in these situations?
you
I
have
don't blame them for it either. Like
you have a
promoters,
point there.
this
You
is
have a
a
point there.
this is a money-oriented business, a bottom line-oriented business. When the fighter is successful, the fighter's got leverage. I think the fighter should exercise it. When the fighter is not successful, loses some fights, doesn't look good, the promoter is well within their jurisdiction, their power to say, you know what? Maybe we're going to move on. We're going to cut your money there because it's just not worth it to us to spend like we've been spending before. It's all about money. And right now, Virgil Ortiz is a man in demand. He's a man on top.
Man in
Get
demand. I
ready to
like that.
fight a big fight against Gerard Ennis. So look, bottom line, I hope this works out with some kind of settlement. I saw your friend of mine, Lance Pugmire, talking about this over on Boxing Scene this week, feeling that a settlement is the most likely outcome. I think that's certainly possible for this back and forth between these two guys. I think that would be great for everybody. Golden Boy can get their money. DAZN can get its money. Not DAZN, I should say. Golden Boy can get its money. And maybe, just maybe, the first half of this year, we can get Jaron Ennis against Virgil Ortiz. All right. Devin Haney. Let's talk about Devin for a second there. Devin Haney was on our broadcast this past week talking about how he believes the fight with Ryan Garcia is the biggest fight in boxing, and certainly is one of the biggest fights in boxing. Two welterweight champions, two guys with bad blood, two guys with a questionable fight a couple of years ago. All the stars seem to be aligning for Devin Haney to take on Ryan Garcia in a rematch until Rolly Romero rediscovered his Twitter account and started going at Devin Haney, saying, "We are ready to fight. We want to make you an offer." There was some back and forth. But according to both Devin and Rolly, representatives for both have been exchanging proposals. We're not all the way there yet, but we've got a date penciled in, May 30th. We've got a venue penciled in, the Barclays Center. And it sure sounds like Devin and Rolly are both down to fight each other in a title unification fight. So I'll ask you this: Devin and Rolly in May or Ryan and Devin sometime in the summer? Which would you prefer?
Oh, come on. That's an easy one. It's Ryan and Devin in the summer. But if I was Devin Haney and Team Devin Haney, they've been making a lot of money, make the right decisions, and fighting the absolute best. So I'm not going to go against their decision making because they've been pretty much flawless, and they've been working with different promoters, different networks, and they've been making a boatload of money and obviously the right decisions. I mean, undisputed at lightweight, going up and becoming a three division champion, now a champion at welterweight, big names at welterweight. I can't hate against Haney, but on the flip side, I can't hate against the Ricardo Mayorga of the 147-pound division. That's Rolly Romero. How the hell does Rolly Romero keep getting all these big names? I'll tell you, big punch and a big mouth. So credit to Rolly Romero, man. I'm not hating on him. I'm not hating on him. I'm not hating the fact that he picked up a strap and that he still has these big names calling his name. So I'm fine with that fight as well. If Devin decides to make a business decision and unify, I can't believe I'm saying unification against Rolly Romero, make it happen if you're Team Devin Haney. If the money's fit, absolutely do it. Take the bull by the horns. But you ask me as a pundit and as a fan, come on, Devin, go fight the rematch. That's the fight that everyone wants to see. Do it on an even playing field without a testing and prove to the world that a person that popped for PEDs and didn't make weight is a person that actually beat you in Ryan Garcia. That's how you shut up everybody, the critics, including Ryan Garcia and Team Garcia, and you give everyone what they want, and that's the rematch.
Yeah, I want to see that rematch as much as I want to see any fight in boxing. And I think even though Boots and Virgil is the better fight, Ryan and Devin Part 2 is the more marketable fight because you've got highlights from the first fight. You've got all the drama from the first fight. The storyline is there. The narrative is there. And I've said this before, whatever number the first fight did on pay-per-view, you could basically multiply it by three. That's what the next fight is going to do. But if the money is right for Devin to fight Rolly Romero, I can't blame him for taking it. I
Yep.
can't. Like, all due respect to Rolly, he won that fight against Ryan Garcia clean. But Devin Haney is a different animal altogether. Like, Devin Haney is a different type of fighter. Devin Haney, I think, would box Rolly's ears off early. I think he's shown enough power at 147 to be able to stop him potentially late. And look, I know why Rolly's doing this. Like, I know why Rolly's out there calling for this fight against Devin Haney, because if he doesn't get a title unification fight sometime in the next few weeks, the WBA is finally going to come in and say, hey, your mandatory is Shavkat Rakhimov. And there's no real money in Rolly Romero against Shavkat Rakhimov. And if I'm looking at these two guys, I'd probably favor Rakhimov to beat Rolly in that fight. So if you're Rolly, you're sitting back. You've had this title for almost a year, and you're in a pressure situation here. You didn't get the Manny Pacquiao fight. You've got this mandatory waiting for you, and you've got Devin Haney out there. And I think Rolly probably knows that Devin's a really tough fight. Rolly's a smart guy when it comes to boxing. He knows what he's getting in there with, but he also knows how much money is in the pot for that. And if you fight Devin Haney, who's a better fighter than Shavkat Rakhimov, but if you fight Devin Haney, you can make more money, more profile, more everything. Be in a unification fight as opposed to fighting Rakhimov and you're mandatory there. So look, it's I
I
can't
think I
I
agree with
can't hate, like,
everything.
I don't know how much money, I don't know who's putting up the guarantee for all this. And Devin notoriously wants to maximize his value, understandably. But if the money is there for Devin Haney, I can't hate on it. Like, it's like Ryan taking on Barrios. Like, the next, guy you'd want on that list is Rakhimov, or sorry, not Rakhimov, but Rolly at 147.
I agree with everything you said except for the part where you said Rolly's a smart guy. Uh, he is a
Try not to
promoter.
insult the guy.
He is a promoter's dream.
Yeah.
He is great on the mic, but he has his own little slow way of putting people down. He has a way of picking any fight he wants, not really being careful about selection of matchmaking. He has he has his own way. He toots to his own horn. I'll keep it like that. He goes
Marches to the beat of his own drummer. Go with that.
my analogy, Mannix. All right. So my horn. So look, he's not the
His
sharpest tool
own
in the
horn.
tent. Let's just keep it that way. But he gets this far, and he's a puncher, and he doesn't need to be a surgeon to be on top of things. As long as he knows how to knock people out in the sweet science, it's fine. It's fine that he's not the smartest guy. But Rolly has decisions. He has options, and if he makes the right decision, then it looks like he's making the intelligent choice. But to call Rolly a smart guy, a smart cookie, I know I'm gonna get criticism for it, but I'll say it easily. Yeah, I don't think he's the sharpest I've ever spoken to.
Well, he understands his situation. And I think there's something smart about that. He understands that if he doesn't get this fight with Devin Haney, he'll make like low six figures, if that, to fight Shavkat Rakhimov in a fight that I don't know where you put that fight. The Fontainebleau in Vegas, like that's pretty much where it is, as opposed to the Barclays Center and a chance to land a big punch on Devin Haney and put him out and become a unified champion. Like I get why he's doing it. I get why Devin would do it too. If there's money in it, I get why he would do it. I still, man, if we get into the summer and don't get Ryan Devin too, it's going to be real disappointing because that fight is right there on a silver platter, ready to go. Main event, Las Vegas. The buildup would be outstanding. I just hope that any decisions made by Devin and Ryan over the next 3 months doesn't cost them that showdown because that showdown right now is ready to go. It's ready to happen between these two top guys at 147. All right, last thing for you. Jaya Pataya is making his return, taking on Brandon Glanton, his first fight in his new Zuffa boxing contract. I'm not sure yet which belts are going to be on the line. We know that Zuffa is going to make this for the Zuffa Cruiserweight Championship. The IBF has had some things to say about this belt being on the line while their title is on the line. I saw a promotional video earlier in the day on Thursday where Jai was standing there with his Ring Magazine belt. He was not standing there with the IBF belt. So I wonder how that's all going to play out before Sunday. But here he is, back in action in a relatively high profile fight because he's fighting on the Zuffa platform, fighting on Paramount Plus, and he's fighting Brandon Glanton, who's not a bad fighter. Like Brandon Glanton is coming off a knockout win over Marcus Brown. Two of losses have been by split or majority decision, so he's not bad. But is this the fight that will we get a good fight out of this between Jai Opetaia and Brandon Glenn? I know you've been higher on Jai as an elite guy than I have. What do you make of this fight between Jai and Glenn?
I think Albataya knocks him out in under 4 rounds. This
Mm.
Glanton that doesn't have any defense. He's a pressure fighter. He comes forward. He falls over his front foot. He's all aggression. He's all aggression, all heavy hands, and no upper body movement, no speed, no intelligence. He's 34 years old. Maybe the only silver lining is he coming off a fight against a southpaw and Marcus Brown and Jai Opetaia is a southpaw. Other than that, it's all Jai Opetaia. And the fact that this guy's barely clinging on as an IBF mandatory at number 15. Hey, if you're Jai Opetaia, knock him out of the box. Make a great a debut on Zuffa, get a knockout, get a defense, and then get back to business with the big names and the big money. It's a win-win-win if you're Jai Opetaia. So, hey, I'm I'm happy for Jai. I'm thrilled right now. Total side on Jai's side. I mean, this man wanted to become undisputed in the belts that have been historic in boxing for decades. The Zuffa belt doesn't do anything for boxers. The Zuffa money is doing things for boxers, and I'm happy Jai got paid. But he still wants to be labeled as a champion, an undisputed champion, a unified champion. He still wants to have those belts that he's seen his heroes have. You know, the Evander Holyfields of the world and everyone else that won championships at cruiserweight. That's where the problem's going to be at. So if he's going to have to, part from the idea of becoming undisputed in the belt era that he was accustomed to growing up, then that's going to be a problem for Jai Opetaia. He's going to have to just choose money and an unknown belt instead of the known belts and good money.
Yeah, On the fight, I tend to agree with you. I think it eventually turns into a bit of a slugfest. I think Jai's got more tools in the box than Brandon Glanton has. Speed, athleticism, natural power. Glanton's a physical guy, but I think Jai is going to land something in this fight. On the belts, Jai is kind of between a rock and a hard place here because with that IBF title, he wasn't making a lot of money in recent fights. Unless he was fighting on these Riyadh season cards, which he's done a couple of times, but unless he was fighting on those cards, he wasn't making real money. This is part of the reason that Matchroom parted ways with him last year because they couldn't really do anything for him. They couldn't get him the kind of paydays that he was hoping for fighting in Australia. And as long as Zurdo Ramirez was looking in a different direction, like Zurdo, and you can't blame him for this, is going for David Benavidez because there's way more money in a Benavidez fight. As long as Zurdo was doing that, Jai was never going to be in those kind of high profile positions that he wanted to be. Now, he's getting a good deal from Zuffa. I don't know the exact figures, but outside of the Riyadh season stuff, it's way more money than he was making in previous fights. And they kind of threw him a lifeboat out there and said, "Look, we know you're not fighting for much. Here's a contract. Come to Vegas, fight in the Apex, do a title fight. We'll take care of you." And they've done that over in Zuffa. But Zuffa does not want to be involved with the belts. And this is the problem. Look, the IBF, here's what I think about what the IBF wants. Like the IBF, I don't think they care that much about the Zuffa title being on the line. What they do care about is being involved in the ways they're used to being involved. That means they get introduced on fight night. The IBF commissioner, Daryl Peoples, that they get treated the way they're treated by Matchroom, by Golden Boy, by Top Rank, by PBC, and everybody else. That they get their people in the building, they get their allotted tickets, they get treated like they've grown accustomed to being treated. I think that's what they want, and I don't think Zuffa wants to give it to them. I don't think Zuffa wants an IBF representative in the ring. I don't think they want any mention of the IBF except beyond like introducing Jai as the IBF champion. Like if he won this fight and the IBF title was on the line, you think they'd be announcing him as still the IBF champion? They would be saying, and the new Zuffa boxing champion. So this is where Jai is. Like Jai wants to be undisputed. Jai wants to be recognized as the greatest cruiserweight of this generation. He sees the only way to do that is to fight for undisputed, to fight Zurdo, to fight Noel McAlien, and fight for unified championships. But he also wants to make money. And he's in a tough spot here because fighting for championships or defending his title wasn't making him a lot of money. Fighting for the Zuffa belt and potentially having to drop his title. Like we're recording this Thursday afternoon. I don't know what's going to happen on Friday. I don't know what's going to happen on Saturday. Does the IBF strip him of that title? I don't know how this all plays out. But he's going to have to choose between the money and being a champion. That's just a fact of reality of the situation. And honestly, he's already chosen. He signed the deal with Zuffa. He can talk to them all he wants. He can push them to do what he wants. But he's in a position now where he's either going to make the money that Zuffa's paying him, or he's going to be a champion and kind of be out there in the wilderness waiting for Zurdo or McAlien or somebody to agree to fight him.
When you agree to do something for money, then that's it. That's what came first. Not the championship belts, not the unifications, not the title of being the best fighter in that division and going down in history as unified or undisputed. So he chose money over legacy. And a lot of fighters nowadays are doing that. They're choosing money over legacy. We always talk about Tank Davis and many others, young guys. But Jai Opetaia, you could
Does legacy have to mean the belt, though? Like, legacy means big fights. Like, I don't know what belt was on the line when Sugar Ray fought Marvin Hagler. I don't know.
I get it. Times are changing. I'm talking about, the heydays of boxing. It's always a belt on the line. It's always.
But do you remember what belt was on the line with Sugar Ray and Hagler?
WBC.
You sure?
You got a computer in front of you.
But you're not sure. My point is you're not sure. And I don't remember what was on the line with Pacquiao Mayweather. Like legacy is defined by big fights.
I've always seen look, all right, let's not get into history and the sanctioning bodies. All I'm saying is Jai is stuck between a rock and a hard place, but that he put himself in the hard place because he wanted the money. So if you already made your decision and you want to fight for money, then you're a prize fighter. You're not a world champion anymore. You're a potential Zuffa champion. That's a novelty. That does nothing for boxers because there's no history yet. Maybe 5, 10 years down the line to be a Zuffa champion is going to be incredible. For right now, we're looking at Jai like, hey, go get your money. Good for you. But forget about the aspirations of being a real champion, a boxing champion, a forever remembered champion that goes down in the history books of the 3 or 4 sanctioning bodies that have been around for 30, 40, 50 years that all your heroes have held. So now, if you chose the money, you got to live with that. And if you Jaya Pataya, good for you on the money, bad for you on the legacy.
Yeah. I still think that he can carve out a legacy by fighting the top guys. I don't care if 2 belts are on the line when he fights Noel McGaley. Noel McGaley is considered one of the other top guys in this weight class. I don't care what belts are on the line if he fights Zurdo Ramirez. Or Ramirez is considered the top guy. Him and Jai right there, 1A in that weight class. I know we're not talking sanctioning bodies here, but like, what belts did Muhammad Ali fight for when he fought Joe Frazier? Like, what belts did Ali beat Foreman for? Like, I don't know. I don't, and people don't remember that. They remember the fights. They remember Ali and
WBA.
Foreman were the 2 top guys in their weight class. I think that's legacy to me. The
But here's
championships
the
are
thing.
great. They look good when you make the Hall of Fame.
And you know why people remember? Because back then he was the undisputed champion. There wasn't, multi champions. There was
Well, there
one,
were multi-champions though. Like there were, I mean, there weren't the WBO didn't exist back then, but some of these sanction bodies been around for like a century.
but it was easier. Everyone knew the undisputed champion was when Ali was the undisputed champion.
Heavyweight, sure, yeah.
Yeah, in the heavyweight division, there was only one champion. That happened
Sugar
for
Ray, like what belts did Sugar Ray and Duran fight for? I don't know.
WBC always. Ray has all those WBC belts lined up.
I mean, you're the fighter. You're the champion. I
True.
get you. I respect your position there. I'm just saying, like, I think Jai can still establish a legacy without being a recognized world champion. I think as long as but that it's also a problem getting these types of fights. Like,
Not if he's going to be facing the Brandon Glantons of the world.
right now, there we
Instead of the
agree. There's the
Zurdo
problem.
Ramirez's.
Like, there's the problem. Can Zuffa, this is the fundamental issue Zuffa is dealing with. Like, can they get guys to agree to step out of the traditional boxing system and not care about titles? Like, they've reached out to a lot of guys. They put their list out there of 90 plus names that
I've seen him.
they had signed, but they had reached out to more. Like, I know fighters and managers of fighters who were blown away by some of the offers, but were like, you know what? We're in a position like 2 fights away from fighting for a world title. We want to do that. Like it's a challenge that Zuffa is facing. And Zuffa's got, like, I say this all the time. I think Nick Khan's one of the smartest operators in this game. Like, he's working on this. Like, he's trying to figure it out. But fundamentally, and you can speak this as a champion, like, it is tough to get the type of quality of competition over to abandon the current system, because whether or not we like these sanctioning bodies, they do want to fight for them. And that's what it's really all about. Getting the competition, not so much fighting for a belt, but getting the top competition to come to your side of the street and be able to fight for that championship.
The top competition is going to be the hard part, but a cruiserweight champion, it always goes under the rug. It's hard to get these cruiserweights to get a big name, but to put a button on this. Look, if I was at the end of my career and Zuffa came around, I'll choose the money. But if I was 30 years old, I was in the prime of my career. If I was a champion, if I wanted to unify, then the money's going to come second to the glory, man. That's just keeping it real.
I defer to you on this one. You've gotten paid for stuff. You got paid to win the contender. You won a world championship. I agree. There's a lot of challenges that Zuffa Boxing is facing, getting in their prime stars to agree to come over without, like Conor Benn, grotesquely overpaying for them. All right, Sergio, I hope you are all set up with your hotel room in Anaheim for next week, as we are there for the Arnold Barboza Kenneth Sims fight. I'm sure you're going to be checking in on Wednesday from your house down the street.
No, man, it's 30 minutes away from me. So no, I'm
Yeah,
gonna
but
be
you
just
still like a
fine.
good
But
hotel
I'll
room.
but I'll see you there. Well, the reason I like staying there is because I like to get a lot of sleep and I like to prepare in silence. If I try to prepare here for a fight, my kids are gonna be driving me nuts. So it's just I do it for the silence, man. It's the hotel silence.
Prepare, prepare, prepare.